On this very day, Treasure was heading to class. The chair screeched loudly as someone shoved it away, the sound slicing through the lecture hall just as Treasure stepped inside. Laughter rippled immediately, sharp and rehearsed, and a crumpled paper ball flew past her shoulder, grazing the wall. She flinched but didn't stop walking. Her heartbeat hammered in her ears as she counted her steps. 1, 2, 3, toward the only empty desk in the middle row. Every other seat was taken. Every other seat had someone who did not want to be near her. She lowered herself into the chair, fingers tightening around the straps of her faded backpack. The whispering began at once. Why does she always come early like someone is saving a seat for her? Maybe she thinks today will be different. Treasure kept her eyes on the dusty tabletop. She had learned that looking up only made it worse. The lecturer hadn't arrived yet, which meant the cruelty had time to stretch its legs. Someone behind her leaned forward. Treasure, a girl called sweetly, dragging out the name like an insult. Your shoes look tired. Just like you. Laughter again. Treasure swallowed. She told herself what she always did, that she only needed to survive the next 2 hours. That education was her exit door. That silence was cheaper than dignity in this place. The door opened at the back of the hall, and a hush rolled in, not because of respect, but curiosity. A tall foreign student stepped inside, scanning the room with calm eyes. His hair was neatly trimmed, his movements unhurried, as if noise didn't register in his world the same way it did in hers. The whispers shifted direction. That's the Korean exchange student. I heard he's rich. No, I heard he's just quiet. Treasure didn't look back. She didn't need to. Foreign students always sat at the front or clustered together. They never chose the empty seat beside her. No one ever did. Footsteps moved closer. Then, without warning, the empty chair beside Treasure scraped softly against the floor. She froze. The weight of another person settled next to her. Not behind, not in front. Beside, her breath caught. Slowly, as if afraid the moment would shatter, she turned her head. The Korean student was already opening his notebook, uncapping a pen with measured ease. He glanced at her then, his expression neutral, his voice low and even. Is this seat taken? For a second, Treasure forgot how to speak. The hall felt too quiet, as if everyone was holding their breath with her. No, she finally whispered. I mean, no, it's not. He nodded once, as if that was all he needed to know, and faced forward. Behind them, the whispers exploded. Is he blind? Doesn't he know who that is? Someone should warn him. Treasure's hands trembled. She waited for the inevitable, for him to stand up, to realize his mistake, to move. When he didn't, confusion tangled with fear in her chest. She focused on her notes. Even though the page blurred, the lecturer entered, and the class began, but Treasure heard very little. All she could feel was the strange warmth of someone's presence beside her, solid and unafraid. When the lecture ended, students rushed out in loud clusters. Treasure packed her books quickly, ready to escape before anything else could happen. As she stood, the Korean student rose too. Treasure, he said. She stiffened. How do you know my name? I saw it on your notebook, he replied simply. I'm Junho. She nodded, unsure what was expected of her. Okay. They walked out together in silence. At the hallway junction, she slowed, waiting for him to turn another way. He didn't. You don't have to, she began. I know, he said gently. I just walk this way. She studied him from the corner of her eye. There was no mockery on his face. No curiosity sharpened into judgment. Just calm. That be why the time they reached the courtyard, she stopped. People will start saying things about you. They already are, he replied. That doesn't bother you? He considered this. Should it? She had no answer. From that day, the empty seat beside Treasure disappeared. That Junho came early, sat down quietly, and waited. Each time, the reaction grew louder. The bullies didn't stop. They adjusted. Notes disappeared from Treasure's bag. Her name showed up on cruel group chats. Someone edited her picture into a meme and sent it around the department. One afternoon. As she bent to pick up her fallen books, a boy laughed and said, Your protector isn't here today. Before Treasure could respond, Junho's voice cut through the air, calm but firm. I'm right here. The boy scoffed. You don't belong in this. Neither does bullying, Junho replied. The silence that followed was heavy, unsettled. Later, as they sat under a tree, Treasure finally spoke. Why do you do this? Do what? Sit with me. Walk with me. Talk to me. Her voice shook despite her effort. Everyone else thinks I'm less. Junho looked at her fully then. I don't. That's not an answer. It is to me. She laughed softly, a sound edged with disbelief. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said. You show up, even when it's hard. That night, Treasure cried for the first time in weeks, not from pain, but from the strange relief of being seen. The bullying escalated when kindness refused to retreat. Someone reported Treasure for cheating on a test she hadn't cheated on. Another student claimed she'd stolen a laptop. The accusations spread faster than the truth ever could. She was summoned to the dean's office, her legs shaking as she stood in the hallway, eyes lowered while students whispered and filmed. Inside the office, the dean barely looked at her. Do you have anything to say for yourself? I didn't do it, Treasure said, her voice barely audible. Evidence was presented. False, manipulated, convincing enough. Her chest tightened as she realized how badly they wanted her gone. Outside, Junho waited. When she emerged, eyes red, he stepped forward. What happened? They think I stole something, she whispered. I think. This is it. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight into the office. The dean frowned. You again. I'd like to request a review of the security footage, Junho said. That's not your place. Junho nodded slowly. Then I'll make it my place. He stepped out and made a call, speaking rapidly in Korean. His tone was different now, controlled, authoritative. Treasure watched from a distance, confusion gnawing at her fear. Within an hour, a black luxury car rolled onto campus. Everything changed, and Treasure, standing alone in the courtyard, had no idea her life was about to turn inside out. The black car glided across the campus like it didn't belong to the dust and cracked pavement. Conversations died mid-sentence as it came to a smooth stop near the administrative building. Treasure stood frozen near the courtyard steps, her fingers locked together so tightly her knuckles burned. She thought at first it had nothing to do with her. Cars like that didn't come for girls like her. They came for people who mattered. The driver stepped out first, tall and sharply dressed. Then another man followed, older, silver-haired, his posture rigid with authority. Behind them came two more men in suits, their eyes already scanning the surroundings. Students pulled out their phones. Even lecturers lingered near doorways that Junho approached them calmly. Treasure's breath hitched. The older man bowed slightly to Junho. Her heart stuttered. What is happening? Someone whispered nearby. The dean rushed out, panic etched into his face. Gentlemen, what an unexpected visit. The older man ignored him and turned to Junho. We reviewed your call, he said in accented English. You were right. We came immediately. The dean blinked. Reviewed his call? Junho nodded once. Please bring up the security footage from the library and hallway outside the computer lab. The dean's smile faltered. That won't be necessary. We already. It will. The older man interrupted calmly. Now. Treasure felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. Junho was standing differently now, shoulders squared, eyes steady. Not like a student asking for help. Like someone issuing instructions. Inside the office, footage played on a large screen. Students crowded the doorway. Treasure stayed near the back, half hidden, heart pounding so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The video showed the laptop being taken, not by Treasure, but by one of the loudest bullies, slipping it into his bag while glancing around nervously. Another clip followed, showing him planting false evidence in Treasure's locker. Gasps rippled through the room. The bully's face drained of color. That's edited. It's not, the older man said coolly. Our team verified it before arrival. The dean swallowed. I see. Junho turned then, his gaze finding Treasure across the room. For a brief moment, the authority faded, replaced by quiet reassurance. He nodded at her, just once. Her knees nearly gave way. Outside, the truth spread faster than the lies ever had. Students whispered in shock. Phones that once recorded her humiliation now recorded the bullies being escorted away. Treasure stood alone near the steps, unsure what to do with her hands, her thoughts colliding in her head. Junho walked toward her. I'm sorry, she blurted. I didn't know you were. I mean, if I had known, it wouldn't have changed anything, he said gently. She searched his face. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to know me, he replied. Not my name, not my family. Her chest tightened. You could have avoided all of this. He shook his head. I didn't want to. By evening, campus felt different. Students who once ignored Treasure now smiled too quickly, greeted her too loudly. She felt exposed, like she'd been thrust into a spotlight she never asked for. The next day, people saved seats for her, offered to carry her books, laughed too hard at her jokes. She hated it. Under the same tree where they once sat in silence, Treasure finally said it. I don't like this. Junho looked at her. What part? All of it. Yesterday, I was invisible. Today, everyone sees me, but not really. She gestured around. They see you. He was quiet for a moment. I understand. You don't, she said softly. Because when they stop seeing you, they'll stop seeing me too. He didn't argue. Weeks passed. The bullying ended, replaced by a hollow respect. Treasure's grades improved. She spoke more in class. But something between her and Junho shifted. An awareness, fragile and unspoken point one evening. As they walked toward the dorms, Junho stopped. I need to tell you something. She tensed. Okay. I'm leaving, he said. Going back to Korea. Soon. The word struck harder than any insult ever had. Oh, my father thinks it's time. She nodded, forcing a smile. That makes sense. He hesitated. I don't want it to end like this. And how? Like we were just. A moment. Treasure looked away. Some moments are enough. He reached into his bag and handed her a notebook. Then keep this. She opened it later that night. Inside, on the first page, were words written carefully. I sat beside you because I saw you. She pressed the notebook to her chest and cried until sleep finally claimed her. The day Junho left. She didn't go to the airport. She watched the campus from her window instead, reminding herself that survival had always been her strength. Months later, Treasure walked into the lecture hall with her head high. The empty seat beside her waited, just like before. Then someone sat down. She turned, and everything she thought she'd left behind came rushing back. Treasure's breath caught, so sharply it hurt. For a moment, she was certain her mind was playing a cruel trick on her. The lecture hall felt too familiar, too quiet, and the weight settling into the chair beside her felt exactly like a memory she had tried and failed to bury. She turned slowly. Junho was there, not the version she had frozen in her heart months ago at the moment of goodbye, but a slightly changed one. His hair was shorter. His face looked leaner, more mature. But his eyes were the same, steady, calm, and unmistakably focused on her. Hi, Treasure, he said softly. Her mouth opened, then closed. Words crowded her throat, fighting for release, but none made it out. Around them, students whispered again, but this time she barely heard them. All she could hear was the pounding of her own heart. You left, she finally managed. I came back. That's not the same thing, she said, her voice shaking despite her effort to keep it steady. He nodded, accepting the blow. I know. The lecturer entered, and the class began, but Treasure couldn't focus. Her mind raced through months of silence, unanswered questions, and nights she'd spent convincing herself she was fine without him. Every word on the board blurred together. When the lecture ended, Junho stood but didn't move away. He waited. Treasure packed her books slowly, deliberately, then walked out without looking at him. She expected him to follow, but he did. Outside, the air felt heavier, charged with unsaid things. They stopped near the courtyard where everything had once changed. Why are you here? She asked finally, turning to face him. I finished my obligations in Korea, he said. I told my father I wasn't done here. With school? She asked, with you. Her chest tightened painfully. You don't get to say that like it fixes everything. I'm not trying to fix it, he replied. I'm trying to be honest. She laughed bitterly. Honest would have been telling me who you were from the start. I was afraid, he admitted quietly. That surprised her. Afraid of what? That you would look at me differently, he said. That you'd think everything I did was because of money or power. And now? She asked. Now I know you would rather walk away than be owned by someone else's shadow. Silence stretched between them. I didn't go to the airport, Treasure said suddenly. I know. She frowned. How? I waited, he said simply. Longer than I should have. Her eyes burned. Do you have any idea how hard it was to watch you leave? Yes, he said. Because it was harder to walk away. They stood there, two people who had survived the same storm in different ways. Life on campus had taught Treasure many things since he left. She had learned to speak up, to demand fairness, to trust her intelligence. She had also learned how dangerous hope could be. "I'm not the same girl you left," she said. "I didn't come back for who you were," Junho replied. "I came back for who you are." Over the next few weeks, he didn't push. He sat beside her again, but he didn't shield her or speak for her. He let her lead. When people whispered, he ignored them. When they stared, he met their gaze calmly, then turned back to her point one afternoon. As they studied together, Treasure closed her book and looked at him. "What happens when you leave again?" He didn't hesitate. "Then I come back." She shook her head. "Life isn't a visit schedule." "I know," he said. "That's why I transferred here permanently." Her breath caught. "You did what?" "I changed schools," he said, almost shyly. "My father wasn't pleased, but he understood." "You gave up a lot," she whispered. "I gained clarity." She studied him, searching for cracks, for doubt. She found none. Still, fear lingered. "I don't want to be the girl people talk about because of who she's with." He reached for her hand, but stopped short, letting her choose. "Then don't be. Be Treasure. I'll just be the person sitting beside you." That night, Treasure lay awake staring at the ceiling, the notebook resting on her chest. She opened it again, flipping past empty pages until she found his handwriting. Slowly, she picked up a pen and wrote beneath his words, "I stayed because I saw myself." Weeks later, during a campus forum on student welfare, Treasure stood at the podium, her heart racing. She spoke about bullying, about silence, about how cruelty thrived when people looked away. The hall was packed. Junho sat in the back, listening. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. She didn't look for him immediately. She didn't need to. She knew he was there. Afterward, he found her outside, pride shining in his eyes. "You were incredible." She smiled, genuine and unafraid. "I know." The rumor mill never fully stopped. Some people still whispered about wealth and privilege, but it no longer defined her. Treasure had found something stronger than protection. She had found her voice that on the day of graduation, she wore her robe with quiet pride. As she scanned the crowd, she saw him standing beside her, not ahead, not behind. "You ready?" he asked. She nodded. "I've been ready for a long time." As they walked forward together, Treasure thought of the girl she had been, the one who entered lecture halls bracing for impact, the one who believed survival meant silence. She thought of the empty seat that had once symbolized her loneliness, and she smiled, because sometimes all it takes to change a life isn't money or power or grand gestures. Sometimes it's simply choosing to sit beside someone and staying.